Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise and deliver the insights you need. Today, we're tackling one of those deeply ingrained myths that just won't quit. The idea that just one cigarette or, occasional smoking is pretty much harmless. It's that belief that serious damage only happens if you're a heavy, long-term smoker.
Yeah.
And that there's some kind of magical, safe threshold for tobacco use.
Right.
But here's the crucial question. Is there any amount of tobacco that won't harm you? Can you really dip your toe into the water without getting wet?
And that's precisely the mission of this deep dive today. We're here to really break down that misconception by revealing the rapid and profound physiological assault triggered by even a single cigarette.
It's assault. Wow.
Public health discussions, they often focus on the chronic diseases, the ones that show after years of exposure, the lung cancer, the heart attacks.
Sure, the big scary ones.
And while those long-term consequences are absolutely devastating, understanding the immediate cellular and systemic responses, well, that offers a powerful, often overlooked deterrent.
So it's not just about later down the road.
Exactly. Our goal today is to show you that harm isn't some distant, abstract possibility. It's an instant reality from the very first puff. It's happening right then, whether you feel it or not.
That's a sobering mission, and it really shifts the perspective, because when most people think about cigarette smoke, they think, okay, nicotine for addiction.
Right.
Maybe tar for lung cancer. But you're saying that's just scratching the surface of a truly dangerous chemical concoction, right? It's far more complex.
So absolutely. What's truly fascinating and frankly horrifying is that cigarette smoke isn't just a simple vapor. It's an extraordinarily complex aerosol. We're talking over 7,000 distinct chemical compounds.
7,000?
7,000. Think about that. And of those, roughly 60 to 80 are identified as known carcinogens.
Wow. Known cancer causers.
Yes, meaning they can cause cancer. And this isn't just a simple mix. It's what we call synergistic toxicity. These thousands of compounds don't just act alone. They actually amplify each other's harm, creating an effect far greater than, the sum of their individual parts.
So they work together to make things worse.
Exactly. It's like each toxin strengthens the other's attack, overwhelming your body's natural defenses all at once.
7,000 chemicals, dozens confirmed carcinogens. That's a staggering arsenal aimed right at your body. So if we look closer at these primary aggressors, the ones that jump into action immediately, what are the key players causing that instant damage?
Okay. Well, among the most potent, we have several major culprits. First, let's talk tar.
Okay, tar.
This is that sticky brown, resinous particulate matter that forms when tobacco burns. It's not just a byproduct. It's like a concentrated repository for most of the mutagenic and carcinogenic agents. Things like polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, benzene, acrylamide, all packed in there.
Nasty stuff.
Very. And the moment you inhale, tar immediately adheres to your mouth, throat, and lungs. And what's its first act? It paralyzes and eventually destroys the tiny hair-like structures called cilia.
Ah, the little sweepers.
Precisely. They're vital for sweeping out pollutants and mucus. Essentially, your body's built-in vacuum cleaner for your lungs immediately starts losing power. Its cleaning system is compromised right away.
Instantly, wow.
Then there's carbon monoxide, or CO. This is a colorless, odorless, highly toxic gas. You also find it in car exhaust.
Right. Not something you want inside you.
Definitely not. It rapidly binds to your hemoglobin. That's the part of your red blood cells that carries oxygen. But here's the kicker. It binds with a much, much higher affinity than oxygen itself. So it basically kicks oxygen out of its seat. It forms carboxyhemoglobin.
So the blood cells can't do their job.
Exactly. Your red blood cells become like taxis, filled with the wrong passenger, unable to pick up oxygen for your organs.
Yeah.
This dramatically reduces your blood's capacity to deliver oxygen, especially to your heart and brain. Even low concentrations can cause dizziness and headaches. And think about this. Heavy smokers can accumulate dangerously high levels, more than 15 times that of a non-smoker.
15 times?
Yeah. So that slight lightheadedness someone might feel, it isn't just a nicotine rush. It's partly their brain actually being starved of oxygen, even if it's just for a moment. That's quite a different way to think about it.
Definitely changes the perception. What else is in this immediate chemical hit list?
Oh, the list goes on. We have formaldehyde, a known human carcinogen that causes immediate irritation to your eyes, nose, and throat. That scratchy feeling. That's partly formaldehyde.
Yeah.
Then hydrogen cyanide. This is considered one of the most toxic agents in the smoke. It directly damages those crucial cilia we mentioned, further messing up the lung's self-cleaning mechanism. It can also cause weakness, nausea, and nerve damage.
Cyanide.
Yes. And benzene. another known human carcinogen. It primarily harms your bone marrow, increasing the risk of things like anemia and leukemia.
Leukemia just from the smoke.
Over time, yes, the risk increases. And cadmium, a heavy metal and carcinogen, this one damages the cells lining your blood vessels, contributing to heart disease and lung cancer down the line. And, beyond those, there's a whole wide array of other carcinogens, various PAH, tobacco-specific nitrosamines, TSNAs, acrolein, arsenic, chromium, all contributing to various cancers and other pathological processes throughout the body.
So that's the sheer chemical assault happening with every single puff. It's an immediate invasion. But there's one chemical that doesn't necessarily cause the immediate cancer itself, yet it's sort of the master manipulator, isn't it? Ensuring you keep coming back for more of those other toxins. You describe it as a Trojan horse, which is a fascinating term. What exactly do you mean by that when it comes to nicotine?
That's a crucial distinction. And yeah, the Trojan horse analogy is, I think, perfect. Nicotine by itself isn't a primary carcinogen in the way that tar or benzene are. However, it is the highly addictive psychoactive drug that compels individuals to continue using tobacco. It ensures sustained, repeated exposure to all those thousands of other harmful compounds we just discussed.
It's the hook.
It's the hook. It's the reason people keep smoking, often even when they desperately want to stop. Nicotine rapidly crosses the blood-brain barrier. It gets to your brain astonishingly fast. We're talking often within 10-20 seconds of inhalation.
That fast? Wow.
Oh yeah. Once there, it activates specific reward pathways, particularly by triggering a surge of dopamine. This dopamine surge creates that pleasurable, reinforcing sensation. So this Trojan horse mechanism effectively tricks your brain. It delivers that immediate hit of pleasure, creating a craving for more, while simultaneously delivering the thousands of other toxic compounds that inflict the actual profound, often silent damage. The immediate activation of the brain's reward system from that very first puff ensures the smoking behavior continues. It's like a neurological handshake that seals the deal on addiction, laying the groundwork for dependency from that initial moment of perceived pleasure.
So the moment that smoke hits, it's not just a random collection of chemicals. It's really an orchestrated attack on multiple fronts inside the body. Let's dive into that immediate cascade of physiological responses. What happens across our major systems the very instant we take that puff?
Okay, the impact is, as we said, immediate and profound. It affects multiple organ systems simultaneously, and often the smoker doesn't even realize the extent of it. The body goes into a state of immediate low-grade alarm. Let's start with the cardiovascular system, a rapid constriction.
Okay, the heart and blood vessels.
Exactly. Upon inhalation, the chemicals in smoke cause rapid irritation and damage to the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels, the endothelium. Think of the endothelium as like the smooth, protective Teflon coating inside your pipes. Smoking immediately causes inflammation and swelling there.
Like scratching up that coating.
Precisely. And this triggers something called vasoconstriction, a rapid narrowing of blood vessels, which immediately impedes blood flow. A single cigarette also significantly reduces nitric oxide concentrations in your blood plasma. Nitric oxide is crucial for keeping blood vessels relaxed and open, vasodilation.
So it makes them tighten up.
It makes them tighten up, yes.
Yeah.
And it's harder for blood to flow freely. On top of that, smoking depletes major antioxidants in your blood, like vitamin C and uric acid. This worsens oxidative stress and further compromises your vascular function. Your body immediately detects this damage and tries to send out repair crews.
Little cellular ambulances?
Sort of. Specialized cells called endothelial progenitor cells and microparticles show up. Their presence is a clear distress signal, a sign of the fight already underway. Furthermore, your sympathetic nervous system, your fight-or-flight response gets acutely activated.
Adrenaline kicks in.
Right, leading to measurable increases in your blood pressure and heart rate, sometimes up to 37 beats per minute higher, just from one cigarette.
37 beats. That's significant.
It is. Your muscle sympathetic nerve activity can even increase threefold. And of course, the carbon monoxide we mentioned earlier rapidly binds to hemoglobin, significantly reducing oxygen delivery to the heart and other vital tissues. This oxygen deprivation is particularly dangerous for anyone with pre-existing heart disease.
That's a lot happening to the heart and vessels immediately.
It is. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, epidemiological studies consistently show there is no safe level of smoking for cardiovascular disease. None. What's truly fascinating, and maybe counterintuitive, is that the risk of heart disease and stroke from smoking, only about 1 cigarette per day, is disproportionately high.
How high?
It approaches approximately half the risk observed in individuals who smoke a full pack, 20 cigarettes per day.
Wait, one cigarette gives you half the risk of a pack-a-day smoker for heart issues?
For certain cardiovascular outcomes, yes. It's not a linear progression where each cigarette adds a small equal amount of risk. The most substantial jump in risk occurs going from 0 cigarettes to just 1. This indicates a critical point of no return for cardiovascular health, where significant damage begins almost immediately upon the very first exposure. It's a huge leap in risk for that initial, seemingly innocuous single cigarette.
That's a truly powerful point about the cardiovascular impact, especially that 0 to 1 jump really underscores the immediacy. Now, our lungs are obviously the primary entry point for smoke, so they must bear the absolute brunt of this chemical onslaught. How quickly are their natural defenses compromised?
Indeed, the lungs are ground zero. Chemicals like tar and that hydrogen cyanide we mentioned directly assault the delicate lung cilia. They literally paralyze and can even kill them. Remember, these cilia are your lungs' critical cleanup crew, those tiny hairs sweeping out inhaled particles and mucus.
So the cleaning stops.
It gets impaired immediately. While full, irreversible destruction isn't instantaneous, the chemical damage begins right away, sabotaging the body's natural cleaning system. This means inhaled toxins can linger in your lungs longer. Also, a single cigarette immediately increases airway impedance and resistance, even in young smokers.
Meaning it's harder to breathe.
It shows a rapid impact on lung mechanics, making it harder for air to move freely. We also see a decrease in exhaled nitric oxide, which is a biomarker signaling airway inflammation is happening.
Inflammation right away.
Right. Furthermore, cigarette smoke is a potent inducer of oxidative stress. This is where thousands of harmful chemicals and reactive oxygen species just overwhelm your body's natural antioxidant defenses. This leads to immediate damage to essential cellular components, lipids, proteins, DNA, and it triggers acute low-grade inflammation, immediately recruiting inflammatory cells to the site.
Like calling in the troops.
Exactly. Your immune system perceives even one cigarette as an immediate, direct threat. It's an active battle alert at the cellular level. It's sensing a full-blown attack and reacting.
Okay, so the body's physical defenses, the internal cleanup systems are immediately under attack. But what about our brain? We talked about nicotine as the Trojan horse for addiction. How quickly does nicotine truly impact it, beyond just sparking that craving? Are there other immediate, maybe more subtle effects?
That's a great question, because beyond just priming the addiction pathways, the brain reacts instantly in other ways too. Nicotine, as we said, crosses the blood-brain barrier incredibly fast, reaching your brain in seconds.
Yeah.
And yes, it primarily activates those nicotinic acetylcholine receptors on dopamine neurons, leading to that significant dopamine surge in key reward regions like the nucleus accumbens.
The pleasure center.
The pleasure center, right. This creates the pleasurable sensation driving addictive behavior, and neurochemically, it's strikingly similar to the responses seen with highly addictive substances like cocaine and heroin.
That powerful.
That powerful. So this immediate dopamine release from the first puff effectively primes the brain for addiction, yes, but it also causes subtle, immediate changes in overall brain activity. We see alterations in electrical activity, changes in blood flow patterns in the brain, while you wouldn't necessarily feel these as a distinct symptom.
Right, you wouldn't know it's happening.
Exactly. But it's the beginning of a rapid rewiring of neural pathways. It establishes a memory and a craving that can quickly escalate into powerful dependence. And over time, the brain even tries to compensate by reducing the number of these nicotine receptors, which leads to tolerance. Then you need more nicotine to get the same effect. It's an immediate, profound impact that sets the stage for a long-term battle for control over your own brain chemistry.
It sounds like damage is happening at a level we can't even perceive immediately. We don't feel a mutation happening or, lipids getting peroxidized in real time. What exactly is going on down at the cellular and genetic level the moment that smoke enters our body?
This is truly the silent assault, and perhaps the most insidious part because it is invisible in the moment. Cigarette smoke is just packed with carcinogens, those PAHs, benzene, formaldehyde, arsenic, chromium, all directly capable of damaging your DNA.
Damaging the code itself.
Damaging the very blueprint of your cells.
Yeah.
Now, while chronic smoking, say, a pack a day for a year can result in an average of 150 extra mutations in every single lung cell.
150 per cell.
Per lung cell, on average after a year. But the initiation of these mutations begins with the very first exposure to these carcinogens. It's not like there's a grace period. Think of it like this. It's not random damage. research has identified distinct molecular fingerprints of DNA damage, specifically from tobacco exposure.
Like a signature.
Exactly, a specific imprint. It's effectively engaging in a terrible genetic lottery where each puff is another ticket you buy, significantly increasing your chances of hitting the mutation jackpot, the one that could initiate cancer.
That's a chilling analogy.
It is. And it's not just DNA. The massive oxidative stress caused by those thousands of harmful chemicals immediately damages other essential cellular components. Lipids undergo peroxidation. That means the fatty membranes of your cells are attacked. Proteins suffer structural changes, impairing their function. And your body's overall antioxidant capacity, its own defense force, is immediately reduced.
So defense is down, damage up.
Precisely. Furthermore, your immune system responds immediately, triggering acute inflammatory responses throughout the body. Now, interestingly, nicotine itself can have some anti-inflammatory effects in isolation.
Oh.
But the overall effect of whole cigarette smoke, with all its components, is overwhelmingly pro-inflammatory and immune suppressive in the long run. Your immune system sees even a single cigarette as an immediate threat. It activates key pathways, increases white blood cell counts as if it's on battle alert. It's mobilizing for war from puff number one.
It's clear that this damage starts immediately, right down to our DNA. But does everyone experience it the same way? I mean, we all know people who say, oh, I had one, didn't feel a thing. If someone doesn't immediately feel sick or cough or get dizzy after just one, does that mean they're somehow immune to this immediate assault you're describing?
That raises an incredibly important point, and it really speaks to why this misconception of harmless occasional smoking persists. While the fundamental mechanisms of harm are universal, the chemicals are doing the same damaging things at a cellular level in everyone we have. The manifestation, how it feels or appears, can vary significantly.
Okay.
Factors like your individual genetic predisposition, any pre-existing health conditions you might have, even the specific chemical composition of that particular cigarette brand can influence how quickly or noticeably you might react. For example, studies consistently show that women often face higher relative risks for cardiovascular disease and stroke from light smoking compared to men. So it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all experience in terms of perceived symptoms.
So to circle back then, if someone doesn't immediately feel sick or have obvious symptoms after just one, that's not a sign of immunity. It's more like an illusion of invincibility, as you put it earlier.
Precisely. That variability can absolutely create a dangerous illusion of invincibility. The absence of immediate overt symptoms feeling fine does not in any way equate to the absence of harm. The underlying cellular and molecular damage, the DNA mutations starting, the oxidative stress, the inflammation kicking off, the vascular changes beginning, that occurs regardless of perceived symptoms. The silent assault on the body's systems progresses even if you don't feel it right away. It's like having microscopic cracks appear in the foundation of a house. You don't see them initially, but they're there, weakening the structure from the inside out.
That makes perfect sense. And speaking of progression, this immediate damage isn't just a one-off event that your body fully recovers from, right? Like if you have another cigarette later, it builds on the first one. It compounds.
You've hit on a critical point. If we connect this to the bigger picture, yes, absolutely. Each subsequent cigarette compounds the damage. The immediate changes we've discussed, the DNA adducts forming, the endothelial dysfunction, the cilia damage, the cellular inflammation, these are not isolated events that magically reset to zero.
They stick around.
They stick around, and they are foundational steps that lay the groundwork for long-term chronic diseases. It really is like compounding interest on a debt of cellular health. Each cigarette adds to the existing injury, preventing the body from fully recovering and actually accelerating the progression towards chronic illness like cancer, heart disease, COPD. The dose-response relationship for many of these diseases isn't linear, it's often exponential, especially over time. That single cigarette is truly the first brick in a wall of damage.
So a single cigarette is genuinely a first domino that initiates this complex chain reaction, and the body then struggles to keep up with each subsequent hit.
Exactly. And it's crucial to differentiate between these acute, often transient physiological responses we feel or measure right away and the chronic pathological states that develop over months and years. A single cigarette causes immediate, maybe transient endothelial dysfunction, yes. But repeated insults, day after day, lead to chronic plaque buildup in your arteries, atherosclerosis. The acute inflammatory response, if it's continuously provoked by smoking, transitions into chronic low-grade inflammation throughout the body, which is linked to many diseases. Initial DNA damage, if it's not repaired properly by the body's mechanisms, or if it accumulates faster than it can be fixed, becomes the genesis of a cancerous mutation.
I see.
So these acute effects are not isolated incidents. They really serve as the first dominoes in that chain reaction. They act as a bridge to chronic illness, transforming from a momentary disturbance into a persistent, deeply embedded pathological state within your body. Your body is always in battle mode trying to repair, and eventually, with continued exposure, it simply can't keep up.
This has been incredibly illuminating, really driving home the immediacy of the danger. So what does this all mean for you, our listener, given this deep dive into the impact of just one cigarette?
Well, the overwhelming scientific consensus is unequivocal and, I think, quite powerful.
Hmm.
There is simply no safe level of exposure to cigarette smoke, period. The notion of light or occasional smoking being somehow harmless is a dangerous misconception. It can lull people into a false sense of security.
Yeah.
The evidence clearly shows that the most substantial disproportionate increase in cardiovascular risk occurs going from 0 cigarettes to just 1. When you couple that with the immediate cellular and genetic damage initiated by the very first exposure, it's abundantly clear that any amount of smoking is profoundly harmful.
So this really transforms the public health message, doesn't it? It's not just about cutting back or reduction.
Exactly.
It becomes a clear imperative of elimination. The concept of a safe threshold for tobacco use is simply a fallacy. It doesn't exist.
For optimal health, 0 is the only safe number when it comes to cigarette smoke exposure. And understanding this, I hope, empowers you with crucial knowledge. Every single puff matters. The decision to smoke even just 1 cigarette is a decision to subject your body to an immediate and profound assault at the cellular and systemic levels. It's initiating pathways to disease and addiction right from the start. It's an instant engagement in a battle your body is forced to fight.
So for you to consider, knowing this immediate, silent, and profound impact of even one single cigarette, what does this reveal about the body's incredible, yet ultimately vulnerable, constant battle to protect itself every single day?